The good news is it's a target-rich environment. We've got
Mm,
89% of people in Victoria who've never voted Freedom parties. And this is the thing, guys.
mm,
This is the thing. And this is the unfortunate reality. Many of them will vote for you and you will change their mind, not because of freedom policies, but because of the other policies on the policy matrix. There are things like abortion. There are things like
yeah,
euthanasia. There are things
yeah,
like environmental, energy. Do you want your energy costs down? Yeah. Or maybe vote for this
yeah,
party. They've got this plan.
yeah,
Maybe vote
exactly.
for these guys. This is the thing. The 11%, they were really strong on freedom concerns. But this
Yep,
89% of people that didn't vote for the freedom parties, we've got to think about we've got the policies. We just don't
yeah,
talk to them about it. And
yeah,
this is the
exactly.
this is the thing, guys. I learned this from being in the polling booths at the federal election. I was watching other candidates and I was watching their backs because the Australian Electoral Commission workers sometimes would go after them. So I'd be watching the tactics they do. What I noticed was when you're at a polling booth, you have to be the most prejudiced person you can think of, right? Now, what do I mean
Mm,
by that? I don't mean discriminate. I mean you have to analyze someone as quickly as possible. Young person, they have a kid. How can I help? What policy out of the policy matrix for my favorite party will most appeal to them? Housing, um, education. We're going to get woke out of schools. We're going to make sure. Think about these things before you get there. When you see someone that, I don't know, that may want lower taxes, when you see someone that wants, I don't know, like you got to think out of the box, guys. This is what you need to do. And when I say you're going to be the most prejudiced person, sometimes that means thinking relatively racistly and being like, okay, on the balance of probability, this person probably thinks this, this, and this. They want more religious freedom.
mm,
Maybe I should show them the policy. Hey, don't vote for Labor, don't vote for Liberal, vote for this guy because they
yeah,
have this sort of policy. Those are the tactics we can do. And how
yeah,
many people, is there still time? How many people have voted in the last 6 days since we've had early voting? We've
yeah,
only had maximum 30%, maximum. There's still 70% of voters out there,
yeah, that's
which we
right.
can go and get. And the best way to go and get them is to get your friends, send everyone you know in your contacts
Yeah,
list the Turning Point Australia how to vote cards, especially
yes,
if it's for your area. Screenshot it, send it to them. And the other
yeah,
thing you can do is go to your local polling booth today, tomorrow, because we've got 6 days left, guys, and make sure you're
hmm,
there on election day. That is the most difficult time for candidates. If you're in another state like New South Wales or South Australia, and
yeah.
you want to drive down on election day, I'll be there. I'll be looking out for our candidates and make sure you're
Anyway,
handing out how to vote cards.
great way to end it. I'm just about to run out of time. I only get an hour on lives. I just wanted to thank Joel. That was fantastic, man. I honestly mean that from the bottom of my heart. You've done a fantastic job. I just hope everyone shares it. So thanks for coming, everyone, and goodbye. And I'm going to save this, so share it around. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.
So there was a chap whose name is Glenn Drury, basically tries to rig elections in favour of Daniel Andrews. Now, you must understand, Bud, everything he's doing is completely 100% legal because Victoria is the only state left in Australia that has this loophole. So he's merely exploiting that loophole. But I wouldn't call it ethical, but it's not illegal, right? Anyway, this has all come out now. And basically what that's shown us is all the parties in Victoria that are running for the election have all now been connected with this, not all of them, but a lot of them have been connected with this Glenn Drury character. So people have been reaching out to me saying, well, now who do we vote for? And I'm like, well, I don't know, I haven't got time, but I know the man that does, and that's Joel. What he has with Turning Point Australia is they've come up with seriously the best system I've seen ever. It's easy to read, it's easy to follow, it's just in plain English, it's done with pictures and things and flow signals and things like that. I think it's excellent. So rather than me sit there and try and nut out who to vote for and things like that, it's already been done. So that's what this is all about tonight. We're going to look at first Turning Point Australia's how to vote cards, how it works, and then we're going to discuss the Victorian elections, which is next week, or this coming week. Yeah, all right. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to get Joel up here. So Joel,
Just waiting for him. I hope there's no silly buggers with Instagram tonight. Okay, there he is.
Hey.
How are you, sir?
Hey, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
That's my pleasure. I've just also clicked join for Turning Point Australia as well, so that we can get more people on, just so you know.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
No worries.
So, I don't know if you heard my little introduction there about, how the cat was thrown amongst the pigeons this week, with a lot of political parties in Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of people, generally have been contacting me sort of saying, well, God, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm like, hey, I know the man with the plan. Right? So I wanted you to come on here tonight. You guys have done fantastic work with Turning Point Australia. I really mean that. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll give you the floor. You explain to people how it works and take it away.
No worries. Do you mind just bringing Turning Point Australia, the account, in as well? Because I want to make sure we get as many people on here as possible. I think that the censorship has been absolutely insane, and I don't know how. To be honest, in many ways, I'm not 100% sure how. There we go. All right, beautiful. Question.
Cool.
You have asked me, how can we get around this? How can we vote? Well, first off, let me just say that the majority of work does end up getting done by myself. I probably do about 90% of it. The only things I don't do are basically, I don't pick how to vote cards, how they're numbered. I have a team that does that. I'm not Victorian. I'm from New South Wales. For those of you that have no idea who I am, by the way, I lost my job in the middle of 2020. I used to work in construction. Always followed politics, always found it interesting. But once I lost my job due to the lockdowns, I was like, that's it. I'm going to try and get better people elected, like what we're trying to do now, and also try to replace the media so that we can get some honest truth out there. And Danny, you've been doing that very much so with your audience as well. So with these how to vote cards and with Victoria, as you said, it's a very unique place down there. They've got an archaic system which involves the parties actually picking where the preferences flow. And it's on its way out. It's all being exposed. Even the mainstream media did a segment the other day where one of the commentators actually said, vote below the line. You need to make sure you're voting below the line.
Yeah, but when Daniel Andrews was asked about it, he was very cagey. He didn't want to commit to actually changing it and reforming it at all because it suits him the most.
Yeah, it's quite astonishing. That Glenn Jury clip that came out, mate, I learned so much from listening to the clip.
Ditto.
I have, and tell me if you're the same, Danny. Don't get me wrong. I don't like what he does. It's not illegal. I think it's incredibly abhorrent. But far out, the guy is sharp. Like, he is an intelligent guy. Like, there's an admiration for how he pulls it off. Disgusting, because it empowers, the lockdowns and all of that.
Oh,
but
look,
in terms of
from a psych point of view, because, that's my background, I see him as a classic narcissist. And what a narcissist will do is they'll exploit every single loophole that they can find, and they're ruthless with it, absolutely ruthless, right? And that's what that guy is. So he's a classic narcissist. I don't want people like that determining our politics. I just don't. It's as simple as that. And so, like I said before, it's legal what he did. He didn't do anything illegal, but it's not ethical. Right. And so here we are.
So what he's exploiting, guys, just, a bit of education for you, totally neutral education here. What happens is when you go to vote, this is just an example how to vote card. But when you go to vote, there's your lower house ballot, which is green. That's for who you want to represent you in the lower house, the House of Assembly in Victoria. And then you have the upper house, which is the long white ballot. Now, that's pretty much what we had in the federal election. Now, the rules are, on the lower house ballot, you have to number all the boxes from 1 to however many candidates there are. So that's fine. The upper house is where this Glenn Jury bloke and others are actually manipulating the system. In the federal election, you had the option to vote below the line or above the line. Now, if you vote above the line, you can actually number in the federal election as many boxes as you want. And you could do the same below the line. But in Victoria, you can't do that. You can only vote a maximum of 1 above the line and a minimum of 5 below the line, whichever you choose. Now, if you vote above the line at 1, where does your preference go? Well, the party picks where it goes. So you've got these people running around, these parties running around, trading your preferences, and it's flowing to very different places. And so one of the tools I developed is this particular map, where it actually, this diagram shows you where your preference flows. Now, you obviously can't read it, guys, but you can see the colors. And you can see that in many cases, some of your favorite freedom parties have actually put red parties ahead of some of the actual green freedom parties and even the Liberal Party. Now, this is something we've sought out to expose. We don't have a specific party that we favored. No one has accused us of favoring one specific party. You can see that both in the lower house and the upper house. And when it comes to these graphics, there's 8 of these for the upper house, 1 for each region. Very complex, very different to the rest of Australia. But these people, what they do, Glenn Drury, is he manipulates these so that it favours and funnels votes to Dan Andrews and Labor. And it's absolutely disgusting. And what it does is it gives Dan Andrews a working majority. Now, this guy is like a hired gunman, basically. He goes to the highest bidder. He would work with the Libs if they were willing to publicly pledge.
Pony up. Yeah.
Absolutely. They will not change the GVTs, the group voting ticket, where they get to dictate these. But the man is basically, this is, the Liberal Party basically wouldn't say that. So, look, when it comes to Victoria, it's all about giving them greater transparency and educating them about who best to vote for.
Yeah, exactly. So where do people find that chart that you had there? Where would they find that?
Sure. So if you go to www.tpaust.com.au, everything is there. We've actually got 5 other projects that we have on there as well.
So that was TP.
Yep, AUST.
TP.
Yep, AUST.
AUST.
.com.au.
.com.au.
Yeah, and you can pin that if you like. That is all about giving Victorians transparency. Now, if you're listening, what's in it for me? Well, as I said at the start, guys, I'm sick of these guys. I don't like what they've done to this country, and I think that the tools we presented, Turning Point is very much becoming the antidote to the Glenn Drury types, to the establishment, to those that have been manipulating your vote, your taxes, and your money in a way that will actually siphon more and more power and centralize more and more power. Now, in Victoria, similar to the federal election, your vote is actually worth something. It's worth $3, about $3 in the upper house. And in the lower house, it's worth around about $6. So you are funding these people to absolutely run again and to manipulate the voting system and to make sure they centralize more and more and more power. I mean, the ability for Dan Andrews and the other premiers to lock down the entire state didn't come from nowhere. It was because we seeded the ground.
Yeah. And that's the point I want to bring up, just to put this into perspective for everyone listening. So we were able to come up with a list of political parties in Victoria that have worked directly with this Glenn Drury. I did post that list, but if you haven't seen it, I'm just going to quickly go through it. So we had the Liberal Democrats, the Democratic Labor Party, the Sack Dan Andrews Party, Health Australia, New Democrats, Fiona Patton's Reason Party, Darren Hinch, Companions and Pets, I never heard of that one, Sustainable Australia, Animal Justice, Legalised Cannabis, Transport Matters, Shooters, Fishers, Farmers. Now, the one I wanted to focus on was the Transport Matters. This is this John Barton character. He is the man 100% solely responsible for allowing Daniel Andrews dictatorial powers when it comes to pandemic lockdowns. So if you take your mind back to last year, Daniel Andrews came up with the most outrageous, abhorrent piece of legislation that essentially allowed him dictatorial powers to lock down the people of Victoria willy-nilly. Everyone was opposing it. 2 parties in particular were responsible for getting it over. The Reason Party, which is basically prostitutes, right? But they've really always been aligned with the left. But this John Barton character, and he was bribed by the Labor Party to basically give his vote. And the whole thing is, he only got into that position and funneling his preferences and things like that because the work he did with Glenn Drury. If Glenn Drury wasn't helping John Barton wouldn't have existed as a political party, and Daniel Andrews right now wouldn't have dictatorial powers. So that's how critical this is. This is how important this is. And this is why we now need to understand how the system works and who we need to vote for to stop this sort of nonsense happening, and, if possible, to displace Mr. Andrews from Mulgrave. That's what I'd like to see. I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So the real question is, how can you subvert Glenn Drury and what he's done with Rob Barton?
Yeah.
Well, in short, you vote below the line. Now, because you pick where the preferences flow. Now, we made the very difficult call. I've probably made about, I think, 5 trips to Victoria, and it cost me an arm and a leg to get there. Thankfully, there were some great Victorians which covered my flights. Just to do recon, just to work out who these parties are. I've had a lot of people email me and message me saying, Joel, did you hear that the Sack Dan Andrews party is actually a Dan Andrews front? I was like, yes, I know. I was onto it. You know, we knew it from the start. We talked with a number of people that were on it, like Aidan McClendon from the Freedom Party. And I sat down with all of the leaders of the party, and we got to the bottom of it very quickly. And so when it came to the decision we had to make, it was, do we put our vote recommendation below the line? And we decided to do that. You know, there will probably be a slightly higher amount of people that will stuff up their ballot because of this, but we thought it's that important we get this right, so we decided to do it below the line. So if people are looking at this and they thought, I don't know if I put that party number 1, maybe I'll swap it with the number 2. Mate, you guys go for it. No worries. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have to do this. You guys could absolutely do it. But this is a good template. So if you're in Victoria and you're looking at this, send it to everyone you know. We are getting heavily censored. Send them the website, tpaust.com.au. Everyone needs to see this. Not only do they need to see the best way to preference how to vote, because we put all the freedom parties first, then the Liberal Party, and then all the left-wing parties, and Dan Andrews and Labor near the end. The whole point is to make sure that we efficiently do our votes in a way that Glenn Drury doesn't control. So these projects, they did not come cheap. Like I barely slept the last few weeks and the last few months trying to get these to people. But we are on the brink, guys. Like, we really have to pull together for this.
Exactly, and that's the whole point of tonight, everyone. Everyone listening, doesn't matter if you don't live in Victoria, because ultimately this affects all of us, because I've got family members in Victoria. What happens if Daniel Andrews decides to lock that down and I never see my children again? Seriously, right? So it's not just Victorians that need to worry about this. It's the whole of Australia. And don't forget, too, that Daniel Andrews is a beachhead. That's a military term we use, right? A beachhead is when you get a foothold into a country for invasion. So he's created a beachhead for the CCP to enter Australia. And before you say, oh, that's conspiracy theory, no, it's not. You have to see the deal that he did with the CCP, with his Belt and Road Initiative, that was secret, that not even the Prime Minister was allowed to see. And also, he sold the lease for the Port of Melbourne for 99-year lease to the CCP. So it's literally a beachhead that this guy is trying to create. And this is why I'm going out of my way to try and get people to get him out, right? We're not going to beat Labor, right? You won't beat Labor. It's as simple as that, because there's not an effective opposition in Victoria. There's just not. I think that's all part of the plan, just quietly. I won't go into that. But, you know, what we can do is displace Daniel Andrews from his actual seat of Mulgrave. And I think that's our best option to do. So, Joel, how would people do that? Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So only if you're in the seat of Mulgrave, because not everyone lives there. If you're in the seat of Mulgrave, we have a how to vote card for that area. And
awesome.
It is the only area, basically, where Labor is the absolute dead last person. That's Daniel Andrews. So number 14 out of 14 candidates. We have, I think, 4 Freedom Party candidates running there. We have number 1, Ian Cook. Number 2, the Liberal candidate. Number 3, actually, no, number 2 was the Democratic Labor Party. Number 3 was, who have we got? Family First. Number 4, Aidan McClendon. He's great as well. He was a big help with research. And number 5, we have the Liberal Party. So we've got all the good people on top, and Daniel Andrews at the very bottom. The only other area where we didn't put Liberal over Labor was in Matthew Guy's seat. Matthew Guy is the leader of the Liberal Party, and he has been doing a terrible job. So in the whole state, out of 88 seats in the lower house, we put Liberal above Labor in every seat, except one seat, and that was in Matthew Guy's seat to say, like, hey, listen up. We don't want to go with Daniel Andrews, but we don't want you as well. So it's a protest vote if you're in that area. But this is the key thing, guys. The greatest success we will see and the greatest place we can stop Daniel Andrews is in the upper house. That's the best thing we can do, because all legislation has to go through the upper house.
Yeah. So how do we do that?
Sure. Well,
is that above the line, below the line?
So as I said, our how to vote cards are probably the best thing. I mean, they're better than all the Freedom Party ones, because all the Freedom Party ones are above the line. Our ones are literally the only ones that are below the line, so that you
below the line.
And
guys, that's the solution, everyone. Just to reiterate that and understand it, vote below the line, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And just look at our cards. We walk you through it. You can see exactly how it's done. And if you need any graphics, any other graphics, because we've done 6 different projects to make sure you have no excuse. You have everything you need to be successful this election. We've even got a policy matrix. So it's got all your favorite freedom parties.
Yeah, I love that.
The major party. We've got the questions. These were written not by me. These were written by Victorians, the biggest issues they want solved. And basically, you've got this sea of green, which is how the freedom parties vote, and also how the major parties vote. So if there's someone in your family where you're saying, hey, do you want a situation where this happens or this happens or this happens? Well, that's how the major parties are voting. And the other one we've got is much simpler than the policy matrix. From left to right, we've got all the freedom parties and then all the left-wing parties like the Socialist Alliance. So you can see where they rank on freedom, social values, and other things. So literally, I have spared no expense. I have spared no time. You can see the bags under my eyes. I can't wait for summer. I'm leaving it all on the field. Victorians, it's literally yours to seize, and only about 30% of people in Victoria have cast their vote. So there's still 70% out there to go and see. And the best way, and this is the thing, Danny, it's not enough to just vote. It's not enough. You've actually got to get out there, go to your local polling booth, find your favorite Freedom Party person with their shirt on before election day and say, hey, I want to hand out how to vote cards for you right now. Yeah. And also on election day. That is the most effective way to change people's vote, the most effective way, because your vote then turns into 2, 3, 10. Yeah. And then it's like, now we're getting somewhere, Yeah,
correct. I was going to bring that up, actually. I want people to understand, you don't have to live in Mulgrave to go and hand out how to vote cards, to do door knocking if you're part of a political party, right, or to letterbox drops, things like that. That's you're well within your rights to do that. You do need to align yourself, I think, with one of the Freedom Party or whatever party you want, but it's quite legal to do that. So you don't have to live in Mulgrave just to volunteer, right? And of course, I'm contacting, as you probably are, Joel, the actual Freedom Parties to get as many people qualified as scrutineers as they possibly can. Yeah. Right? Because we saw at the federal election, I was bombarded with scrutineers contacting me saying, hey, they changed these votes, or they didn't fill in these votes, and they threw away votes. Right? They saw it with their own eyes. And I tried to report it to the authorities. It was all ignored, but we just got to keep hammering the scrutineers. We've got to hammer that.
Yeah, well, look, if I can afford to make it down to Victoria, I want to be on the ground in Mulgrave exposing anything that happens. And if people see anything, record everything, even if it's sort of an undercover sort of thing. But this is the thing. Our 6th project is secure the vote. And so the legendary Millie Fontana, I can actually see her in the comments. She's coming out with a video which we're going to push, which will show people how to be a scrutineer, what to look out for, how to make sure that we don't get shafted. Because you're right, we did learn that in the federal election, and we have to make sure we record everything, because at least it's a massive deterrence. And this is the thing, guys. If by any chance you guys can make inquiries into becoming an AEC worker, I know of about 12 places where the AEC are short on workers. If you become a worker, that is like the best place to be, to keep an eye on everything. I know people, in the federal election, they kept an eye on it as well. This is one of the most important things we can do to make sure the vote is not rigged.
Yeah, totally. Now, I've just got a couple of questions here people are asking, so we'll just go to questions. Oh, sorry, one. Yeah, sorry, I said John Barton. It's Rod Barton. Layla was just reminding me. I realised that after I said it. Sorry, but we all know who he is. Yeah, he was the taxi driver that got bailed out. Adam Alenzi, do you think, who do you think will be the most likely next Premier? I'm certain it's going to be Liberal. I don't, but what do you think, John?
Look, I don't either. I've said
No.
I've been completely honest from the start, and this isn't meant
Yeah,
to. I'm not trying to demoralize you. I'm being real, and I'm trying to tell you guys how we can achieve success without picking the premier. You know,
yeah,
we need a majority in the lower house, or even to actually form government and to actually
government.
form
Yeah,
and also pick the premier. Now, this is the thing, guys. Even if Matthew Guy wins, that to me, I do consider that a loss anyway. I don't care for Matthew Guy and the Liberals. I
no,
don't have any faith in them. Literally, when
no.
Daniel Andrews would say, we have to lock down for 4 weeks, Matthew Guy
Yeah,
would be like, oh, no, slow down there. We should just lock down for 2 weeks. It's like, no,
yeah,
hang on a sec. Look at the
yeah,
science. Look at
yeah,
other countries. And so I don't have patience for the lower house specifically and for where it's going. I think it will be a Labor win in the lower house. So how do we achieve
yeah,
success? Two ways. One of them, we can get the balance of power in the upper house. That is the best thing we can do. If the Liberal Party and the Labor Party are unable to get things passed because they don't have a majority in the upper house, because legislation has to pass through the upper house. If we have those middle seats, then nothing's getting passed. Like they can't
yeah,
get. It doesn't matter if it's Dan Andrews or Matthew Guy. Nothing's getting passed. And
yeah,
the other way we can achieve success, it's a form of success, but you'd want to get the upper house, is beating Dan Andrews in Mulgrave. Now,
yes,
without a shadow of a doubt, I think Ian Cook's campaign has the most enthusiasm on the ground. On the
yeah,
weekend, I was there, and it was astonishing to see, not on the weekend, last week, how many people were manning his polling booths. That is a show of
yeah.
strength. That is
Awesome.
how you beat these
Yeah,
major parties.
yeah. So if everyone, I uploaded, Peter Credlin did a really good documentary about the cult of Daniel Andrews that featured Ian Cook's story in there. Now, if you're not familiar with Ian Cook, he was the guy that was running a food business, a family food business, and the Dan Andrews sycophant council went in there, planted a slug in his factory, and then closed them down. Why? Because the council were running their own food supply factory company for profit, right? And they were competition. So this is what happens under corrupt governments like the Daniel Andrews government. This sort of nonsense goes on. We see this in third world countries. Now we're seeing it in Australia. So this is why I'm adamant we've got to get Daniel Andrews unseated. Now, the other thing with getting Daniel Andrews unseated, it's a moral victory, right? That will raise the moral of all of Australia because everyone doesn't like Daniel Andrews. So to take that head down, that would be such a moral victory, and it's going to scare the rest of the political movements all around Australia, like the establishment. They will piss their pants if that happens, right? Because they realise that the people are waking up and the people are now coming together and forming, you know, a real opposition. That's what it says. It sends a clear message. So that's the other reason why we need to take out Daniel Andrews, right, for the moral victory. And I can't underestimate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, the morale, we'll get to the questions in a sec, but I just want to say the morale of people, it'll trigger a domino effect.
Yes, it will.
We have a state election in New South Wales on the 25th of March next year, 4 months away. If we have a win there, and by the way, we're on track to actually achieve the balance of power again in New South Wales. If we get that, then in the federal election, not so far away after that, we'll win there. And also in Queensland, in your state election, you know, it's so important.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'll just go to this question. Heidi Z, is early voting recommended? I was going to wait for Saturday. They've already had 400,000 votes, I think, early votes in already.
They've had, on Wednesday, at the end of Wednesday, they had 400,000. So by today, it's probably doubled, 800,000, and also another 500,000 are mail-out ballots that have gone out. So we're looking at about 30%. If all those people responded by mail, that's about 30%. It's probably under 30% have voted.
Yeah.
So there's
I
still a
don't
lot of
think
time.
at this, yeah, I don't think it matters at this point. If you've already made your mind up who you're voting for, and as long as it's not Daniel Andrews, it doesn't matter if you vote early or on election day. I don't think. That's just my personal belief. And got a question here from Tina. Hello, Tina. She says, any advice for interstate votes? I need to submit mine via the post ASAP. I'm not in Melbourne at the moment. So she's got to do an absentee ballot, basically.
Yeah, look, our voting system by mail is a lot better than the US system. Okay, it's completely different in the US. In the US, they have universal mail-out ballots where people are literally going around from door to door and actually taking the ballots and filling them out, or even throwing them out and siphoning through them. In Australia, it's a lot better. In the federal election, I got a mail-out ballot, and you know what I did? It was probably the best thing you could do. I got it to me. I filled it out on camera in front of everyone. I then took it in on election day, and with a mail-out ballot, the way they do it in terms of custody is they literally have to have a signature from an AEC representative, and they have to seal it. That was like the best. Like it's safer than a same-day vote. And so look, that's what I did. I don't know if they offer that in Victoria, but if you have to mail it in, that's fine. But the best thing you can do is send this link to everyone in your contacts list. I'm not Victorian, and everyone needs to see this. Like, I'm being so heavily censored, guys, because of the Australian Associated Press, they're contracted by Facebook and Meta to write fact checks about specific people, not the left wingers. They do it to us. And so right, this is last week, right when we need to get these things out, they're going after me because these are the best projects you could be using. And I haven't even talked about the political rap sheets as well, which is, oh my God, it's a game changer. Yeah.
So, guys, once again, just to reiterate what we're saying here, everyone, I've pinned the web address. So go to TPAust, so that's Turning Point Australia, tpaust.com.au. You need to share that with as many people as you possibly can. Share on your Facebook, your Telegram, your everything, all your social media. Start posting that, send it out, email it to friends and family and things like that, and say, hey, guys, we've got a real chance to make a difference here. All right? It doesn't matter if they're left or right at this stage. What we are trying to stop is a criminal cartel taking over the state of Victoria. Well, they have taken over. We're trying to get them out. Right? So I don't think it matters anymore whether we're voting left or right. What matters is we've got to get this criminal cabal out of Victoria. So that's why you've got to send everyone you know to tpaust.com.au, get them to look at the different stuff that they put up there, the different charts, the flow charts, the how to vote cards. I really loved what you talked about before was what are their policies? You know, what do they believe in? Where do they stand on freedom? Where do they stand on lockdowns? Where do they stand on things like that? I think that's really important for people to have an informed decision, right? And seeing it all there on one page is just fantastic.
Yeah, Danny, there's a few comments I'd just like to address in there.
Yeah.
One person said, I have no idea when it comes to voting. I totally understand. And this is the thing. Yeah. They've been taking advantage of your lack of knowledge. And these how to vote cards, if you just follow it, it is literally, like, I encourage you to do your research, but I understand people have many kids, you know, working 2 jobs and they have no time. The guarantee we give you with these how to vote cards is all of those green freedom parties, they are ahead of the major parties. So they are the parties that will never lock you down ever. And they all appear at the top. So that's why we've completely spelled it out for you and given you that peace of mind, that guarantee. And the other question we got here, there's 2 statements. One person said, election's going to be rigged and everyone knows it. Don't know why we're still playing politics. And another person said, I voted, like you said, in New South Wales for the federal election. No Freedom Party wins. And this is the thing, guys. If you want to roll over and die, you guys can do that. But I don't need that kind of energy right now. This country is on the brink of absolute oblivion. And we have some of the biggest followings doing nothing with their followings to save this country. The reality is our vote still counts because Pauline Hanson got up in Queensland. Senator Rennick is still in government. Senator Antic is in South Australia. We got someone in the upper house in South Australia, in Sarah Game for One Nation. We got Ralph Babbitt up in this very state we're talking about. Ralph Babbitt got up and he is punching on with the government. We've got Malcolm Roberts in Queensland who's punching on. We've got Matt Canavan. We've got so many freedom senators and politicians around the country who are increasing their votes. Like the member for Petrie in the lower house in Queensland, he increased his margin. He went from like 8% to I think 9% or something in the federal election because he stood with Craig Kelly and he voted for pro-freedom on the vaccine. Now, if you don't want to vote, stay at home, be depressed, be upset, but that's not what we need. We need the go-getter attitude. This country is literally on the brink, and a lot of people are saying we tried it in the federal election and we failed. That's not true. That is absolutely not true.
It's not true. And as I tried to explain to people with the federal election, right, if you were part of the freedom movement and you were part of the rallies and the protests, best case scenario, and I mean best case, this is overbloated, but let's say we had 500,000 people showed up at Canberra to protest, right? That was the best turnout we had. 500,000 people out of 25 million is a piss in the ocean. It's nothing, right? And that's how they were able to steal that federal election. And I'll say it, they did. The only way that we can stop this from happening is to overwhelm them. So think of it like a grasshopper getting overwhelmed by ants. It just can't get away, right? It's a big, giant insect. If one ant at a time or 5 ants at a time get the grasshopper, it just knocks them off. But what happens when 100,000 ants come in at once, catching it by surprise, it can't get away. That's how we win. So saying that voting doesn't change anything, you are falling straight into the hands of the New World Order by saying that, right?
Absolutely.
That's what you're doing. And you're rolling over. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to do that. Absolutely. What we have to understand, we win by overwhelming them. How do we overwhelm them? We share the shit out of this information. That's how we do it. It's an info war. I've said that for a long time. We're in an info war. And just what Joel just rattled off, all the wins that we had. How many of you people honestly knew we had all those wins at the federal election? Probably none. And I'm not going to blame you for that. Is because the mainstream media, who are in cahoots with the New World Order, they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to talk about it. They want you to feel despondent. They want you to feel down. They want you to feel depressed. They're not going to tell you this stuff, right? So you've got to get more engaged with politics. Follow someone you like Senator Rennick in South Australia is awesome. You know, they're all out. You know, I like One Nation. I've said that from day one. I don't hide that fact, right, with Pauline. But I follow them. I look at what they're doing, how they went in the votes and that sort of thing. So it keeps me up, keeps me elevated, right? So, yeah.
And Danny, this is the thing. If they had such a stranglehold on the votes that it didn't count, why would they bother with propaganda? Why would they try so hard to cover the truth? And the truth is they don't have a total hold on it. And that's why they're always trying to ban us, because our information can influence people's votes. That means our votes count. And when it comes to the propaganda, they wouldn't bother if they knew that they could just make us do what we wanted with the voting. And the other thing is this. People say we tried in the federal election and it didn't work. As I said before, I rattled off all those wins. But the other situation is we actually have in the election, we didn't have people campaigning. I remember, and I said this in my speech this week, a week out from the election, on the Saturday, the highest pre-polling day in an election cycle, we had people protesting in the streets in Victoria. And I told people before that, I said, do not do that. We did it in the federal election. And what ended up happening was we had our freedom candidates on the phone to me, crying, saying, why did I put my hand up when I was at these protests to say I'd be a candidate? All these people, they're protesting in the streets. No one's here to help me. I've got the Labor Party. I've got the Socialists. I was just talking to a candidate yesterday and they were in tears to me. And they were saying there were 10 Socialist volunteers in the West Metro, and there were 10 Labor people in the West Metro as well. And we're meant to be manning the polling booths in this pre-polling period. And why is that? Because in the pre-polling period, in each electorate in the lower house, there is only 1 or 2 polling booths open, sometimes 3. So you've got every day leading up to next Saturday, there is just 1 to 3 polling booths that are there. Now, on the election day, there's like 50. So it's impossible to man them all, 30 to 50 polling booths. But 40% of people, they vote before election day. So if you're manning the polling booths before election day, if you're doing that, you get a bigger bang for your buck because you can go toe to toe with the major parties.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do to change people's vote is to be outside the how to vote card places. We're outside the voting centers and handing out how to vote cards. You don't have to know where to go. Just go to your local how to vote card place. You don't even have to be, it doesn't even have to be your electorate. You go there, you say, hey, my name's whatever. I want to hand out how to vote cards for you guys. I also want to help you on election day. I also want to scrutineer for you. Those are the best things you can do. It's music to their ears, and to the candidates and to the parties that are listening. That is, I hope this helps you. This is why we built the volunteer funnel. We built a funnel for all the freedom parties, so you could literally pick which party you want to vote, you want to volunteer for, and it would send you their details. That's another thing on our website.
All right. So, sorry, Scrumpo65, he's just, as a comment, he's just saying, I got my early voting papers, not voting Labor or Liberal, don't know who to vote for. Well, go to Turning Point Australia. Just get through some of these.
Yeah, sure.
Who to vote for in New South Wales, Labor, Liberals, same shit. Well, we're not going to focus on New South Wales at the moment. We're just focusing on Victoria, but when New South Wales election comes, we'll do this all over again. All right, Layla is asking, what are the political rap sheets that Joel mentioned?
Layla, thank you so much for the question. I love Layla. I think it's the Layla I'm thinking of. So the political rap sheets, this is one of the most exciting projects which we've put out there. Basically, just like with the how to vote cards, you put your address in, and we don't keep that information. You put your address in and it spits out a how to vote card. So that's what, and it tells you how to number your card. Well, this is similar. You put your address in and it spits out a rap sheet, a voting record, a dirt file on your local parliamentarian that served you. So this is Daniel Andrews. We had to cut it down a bit because it was getting too long. But basically it shows you what he voted for, what are the big things that happened in the media, and it exposes him. Now, if you look at this on the desktop, it's probably a better way to look at it. On the phone, it's a little bit bad. But what it shows you on the desktop and on the phone is the bold writing. Sometimes you can click it if it's a news article and it'll take you to the article. So if you screenshot this and you take it to the voting centers and you say, hey, look what people are doing. Look what your local parliamentarian did. This is one of the most powerful things we've made this election. And the best, and it's not even the best part. The best part is we're tapping into the collective knowledge of dirt that the electorate have on their local members. So you can put in, have we missed anything? And then you literally put in your member of parliament, what they've done, and a link to the proof of it. And I'm personally reviewing that, and I will add it to it if I have time. I will add it to it in real time, and it will make it on there. We are changing the game in politics. For too long, the major parties have gotten away with you guys not knowing what they've been up to.
What they do.
And we're exposing it all. And this is the thing, guys. Yes, did we kill ourselves bringing this to you for free? Absolutely. I haven't slept in like a month. It's been insane what's been going on. But we're doing this because we need to all get around Victorians. If you know one Victorian, if you know 10 Victorians, you've got to send them these links. These are so important to them. Yeah.
But can they print out these things? Are they easy to print out, like download? Great.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a download link,
Oh, fantastic. Because that's the sort of, that rap sheet is the sort of thing you talk to family or friends about, neighbours, people at the shopping centre. All you have to say is, are you aware that such and such voted this way at the last, thing? Are you aware that they supported this? Are you aware that they supported that? You just ask those sort of questions because people are going to go, no, I didn't know that. Well, there you go. You vote for this sucker. He's going to have your little boy wearing a dress in 2 weeks, right?
That's right.
That's the sort of things that this will show.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're opposed to that, So once again, I'll say go to tpaust.com.au, download these things, print them out, share them with all your friends and family. The only way that we're going to win is to overwhelm them.
Absolutely. One of the questions which I saw Ian Cook, who's running against Dan Andrews, asked, he was asked by someone, if I vote for this candidate, where does my vote go if I vote above the line? And Ian was trying to explain to them, and they had to take his word for it. And I handed Ian this. I said, Ian, just show them on the graph where the preference flows. And he was like, oh, this is brilliant. And he showed them exactly where it actually flows. These should be at every polling booth on hand by the freedom parties. Again, totally free. We just want to get it out there so you guys have the tools you need. No excuse to win this election.
Yeah. So someone's asking here, this is OSAD Inc. Joel, will you tell protest organisers in New South Wales to not organise protests on the 18th of March? I've got no idea what that's about.
It's your choice to protest. I am not about to tell people, I'm not about to force people not to protest like was done to me in mid-2021. I am encouraging people to not protest during pre-polling period. If you want to do it right before, like the weekend before pre-polling starts, no worries. But as soon as pre-polling's on, that's it, guys. You had the whole of the last 2.5 years to protest. Now it's game time. Now we've got to kick this out of the park because, we did that in the federal election where we protest and it didn't help. Yeah,
for sure. So Lou7877 says, I've downloaded your how to vote sheet, point cook. I'm making the paper exactly as you have. But she's saying, does that ensure Dan does not get in? Well, no.
No, hang on a sec, guys. If you're in Dan Andrews' seat of Mulgrave, because you may not be, most likely you're not, that doesn't ensure him specifically. But what Dan Andrews needs in order to become Premier is he needs a majority of Labor people to get up in the lower house. So in answering your question, yes, it does help to stop Dan Andrews getting in. Because it means he has less, because we don't preference Labor anywhere except in Matthew Guy's seat. He's the terrible leader in the Liberals. But in all 87 other seats, the Labor Party candidate is below. So in answering your question, yes, this will help you. I won't go into the complexity of it, but understand that we are very much, our top goal is to make sure Labor doesn't get a majority.
Correct. All right, so Pissy Leaks asks, how many can you put below the line?
You can do as many as you want. We have done it so that it fits on our how to vote cards, and we've done it so that it stops after the Liberals. So it doesn't, you number all the freedom parties, then the Liberal Party, so that they get the preference. And then after that, we've stopped it so none of the left-wingers get it. So you can preference as many as you want and keep going, but it's up to you. It increases the risk of making a mistake. But we've done it so that if you follow it to the T, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so Shell by the Beach 28 says, my boss is signing up for director's ID. I think you mean the digital ID maybe.
Right.
How can I deter them? Well, once again, people power. If every single person at that organisation just refused to come to work for a week, they won't do it, right?
Yeah.
Companies rely on income, right? Profit. They're all about profit. So the one way you hurt a company is to hurt them in the hip pocket, their profit, right? So if you want to deter your company, you have to get all your other work colleagues on board and all basically go on strike, essentially. That's how you deter it. 1 to 5, I don't know what that means.
Oh, no, you don't do 1 to 5 guys for below the line. You have to number at least 5 below the line. If you
at least 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So Robin Campbell, we were told at pre-poll below the line up to 5.
No, don't do that. Your vote won't count, guys. Please don't do that.
Yeah. Can you explain that again then to people?
Absolutely, guys. You can do at least 5 and as many as you want after that. At least 5. If you do less than 5 below the line, your vote will not count. It will not count. Make sure you do at least 5. Very important.
Oh, it's okay. Shell's just saying no, they're just not aware. All right, sorry about that, Shell. By the beach, maybe time to find a new job.
By the way, fun fact, guys. When I was in Mulgrave, I was looking at the how to vote cards for the Labor Party. I picked up on the fact that Dan Andrews, if you didn't know, he's actually mysteriously ended up at the top of the pick of the draw. They digitally generate this. If you want cheating, this is where you can start sniffing for cheating. But on top of that, the way he's numbered his card, it's almost exactly like a donkey vote where you number it from 1 to 14. I don't know why he's done this. I have no idea why he's done this, but it goes 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So obviously the 2 should be up there, but I don't know why he's done this so that Ian Cook is number 6 ahead of the Liberal person. So Dan Andrews is literally going to help himself lose his seat. And I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. So look, I guess we'll see what happens.
Oh, I can't wait to see what happens as quietly. So Layla's just said, hello, Joel. Yes, it's me, the Layla you know. Thank you for all your hard work, info, and education.
It's my pleasure.
So
I hope we can make a difference, Layla. I really do. You were protesting so much this time last year. I remember you getting sick because of the cold when we were out there. But God bless you, Layla. You're lovely.
Oh, they also sprayed them with something that we don't know. That's why they got sick. But anyway, let's not get into that. DW up 87. Why do we vote with pencil?
Take a pen, guys. I remember Voice for Victoria did an interview with the Australian Electoral Commission for the federal election. And they said, look, if you want to bring a pen, we encourage you, bring a pen. So take a pen, guys, if you don't trust them with that. I think the reason, one of the reasons they told her, whether this is true or not, I don't know, is they said that with pencils, they're easier to store between elections because they bring them out every election. Whereas with pens, I think they get worried that they dry up or something. Now, I don't know if that's crap or not. Just take a pen. I don't know. Just take a pen with you guys. You know, they encourage it, so just go for it.
Yeah, I've always taken a pen with me, always. And I always ask them, is it okay if I use a pen? And they go, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
So there's no problems there. So that's all the questions we've got. Just one more thing I wanted to bring up quickly. We've got about 10 minutes left.
Sure.
There was another big hit piece the last couple of days where that silly Catherine, what's her name? She's with the Angry Victorian Party, and she basically said that she wants to turn Daniel Andrews into pink mist. And as an ex-soldier, I know exactly what that means. It was a stupid, idiotic thing to say. I don't know who she was trying to impress, but the media have gone absolutely bananas on her and the whole Angry Victorians, because don't forget it was the Angry Victorians that broke the story with Guy Drury, right? So now they've got the guns out, they're going after them, they want to shut them up. So what's her name? Catherine, people in Victoria know her. I don't like her anyway. Sorry?
It's Catherine Cummings.
Cummings, Cummings. She turned up drunk at the Melbourne protest and tried to co-opt them, and that's when she lost me, right? I don't want to have anything to do with that woman. I just think she's a village idiot, but she's really hurt that Angry Victorian Party now. Yeah.
Well, look, think of her, what you do before this, but she very much, you know, if that's what you think of her, then imagine, I can only imagine what you think of the other parliamentarians who didn't vote for the people when the emergency bill happened with people like Rob Budden. But yeah, look, would I have said something like that in that way? No, I probably would have made it a lot clearer what I meant. They did issue a statement. I encourage you to read the statement.
Yeah, I did read the statement.
But yeah, look, I wouldn't have said it absolutely that way. I understand what she meant in terms of the actual... I mean, honestly, the first time I heard that, I thought she was actually talking... I'm not from a military background. I thought she was talking electorally, and I thought she was talking, you know... But this is the thing. The media, the Australian Associated Press, everyone, they're out to get you. You have to be on point. You have to think about how they're going to misinterpret it. You can't just say, hang this person, hang that person. That's not what she was saying. But don't say things where it could be open to interpretation. Like, don't make it easy for them, especially when you drop a bomb like that. But look, Catherine, but this is the thing. Catherine has stood with us. She has been, one of the chief people from the start. What happened was she was actually elected under the Darren Hinch party, Justice Party, and that was through a Glenjury deal in the last election. Yeah. When she realised what had happened, because she was a novice to politics at the time, really, she was like that. She was disgusted, and she left the party. And so she's been trying to make amends this election by running and exposing this stuff. She's known about the Glenn Jury clip for a long time now. It was very hard for her to stay quiet on it. But again, yeah, look, I totally agree. I think keep it, don't make it easy for them.
Exactly, that's my point. And look, I'm well aware how she's voted. She has supported the freedom parties and anti-lockdowns and things like that. But we have to be better than that. We, on our side, we have to be better. We have to conduct ourselves in a very high professional standard. And the reason why I say that is because the media are going to crucify us if we even look the wrong way, right? So like Joel just said, we don't want to give them a reason to hate on us. And don't forget, the majority of people in this country only know about Catherine Cummings now because she said that idiot thing, right? That's the only way they're going to know about who she is. They're not going to know about her voting record. They're not going to know about where she stands on different things. They may agree with her on 90% of the stuff, but all they hear is the Channel 9 news saying, oh, this woman said that she wants to assassinate the Premier of Victoria, essentially. Right. That's how they're saying it.
And this is the thing. If this is another level of it. If everyone listened to my warning on Wednesday night and they didn't go to the protest and candidates like Catherine were at polling booths where they should be handing out vote cards on a Saturday, the biggest pre-polling day, then this never would have happened. But no, everyone wants, this is why I get annoyed when people say we tried elections and it didn't work. No, this is the sort of stuff we're talking about. They all should have been at polling booths. Now, I understand and respect some people don't believe voting works, and that's why they're out protesting. But sorry, guys, it's either you vote or, you do a violent revolution, and you would be crushed. You have not convinced enough people to do a violent revolution. You're just not there yet. So
Joel, I've already covered that in previous. I've covered that in previous lives, right? I understand violent revolutions. The people that win violent revolutions are the most ruthless, hardcore people. That's who becomes your new leader, right? Let's say they take the government down. They did so because they're the most ruthless, psychopathic killers. That's who they are. That's how they win revolutions, right? That's your new boss. I don't want that person telling me that they're running the country. So violent revolutions is not the way forward. Anyway, just one more question. My nephew, who is in construction, and all his fellow workers were told if they don't vote for Dan Andrews, they'll be out of a job, or out of work. No Andrews, no work in construction. I was yelling at him, telling him it's a fear ploy. It is. I heard that leak come out from the CFMEU where they were saying that, if we don't vote Danny Andrews, we won't have any jobs and won't have any work. Look, all you can do is point them to Joel's, Turning Point Australia website and direct them to, the rap sheets, the how to vote cards, all that stuff. That's all you can do, right? They've got their propaganda, and all we can do is counter it, not with propaganda, but with facts. That's what Joel has come up with, facts that you can use. It's free to use. There's no excuse not to use it. And as I said before, the only way we win this is to overwhelm them. We overwhelm them, right? Not just with voting, but with scrutineers, with how to vote cards handing out, poll booth attendance, all that stuff. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. That's how we win. It's as simple as that. It's your country. Don't expect other people to save it for you. You have to save it for you. It's as simple as that, guys. There's no more. The reason why we got into this situation, because everyone got distracted with football and Dancing with the Stars, and the politicians knew that, and they just went off and did what they wanted because we let them, right? So now it's time to put the big boy pants on, get down there, get to a polling booth, become a scrutineer, share all this information around. That's how we win.
That's right. And someone just asked in the comments, can we win? Well, this is the thing, guys.
Oh, yeah, I believe we can.
At this very point in time, yes, we can win. And I'll tell you why. We have, according to the federal election results, this is the state of Victoria and how they went, we have 11% of the vote in our pocket. In our pocket. Mm-hmm. That is there. We've got it. That's what got Ralph Babbitt elected. Beautiful. That's at least one person we got out of 6 in the federal election. That's phenomenal. Now, the good news is it's a target-rich environment. We've got 89% of people in Victoria who've never voted freedom parties. And this is the thing, guys. This is the thing. And this is the unfortunate reality. many of them will vote for you and you will change their mind, not because of freedom policies, but because of the other policies on the policy matrix. There are things like abortion. There are things like euthanasia. There are things like environmental, energy. Do you want your energy costs down? Yeah. Well, maybe vote for this party. They've got this plan.
Yeah.
Maybe vote for these guys. This is the thing. The 11%, they were really strong on freedom concerns. But this 89% of people that didn't vote for the freedom parties, we've got to think about we've got the policies. We just don't talk to them about it. This is the thing, guys. I learned this from being in the polling booths at the federal election. I was watching other candidates and I was watching their backs because the Australian Electoral Commission workers sometimes would go after them. So I'd be watching the tactics they do. What I noticed was when you're at a polling booth, you have to be the most prejudiced person you can think of, right? Now, what do I mean by that? I don't mean discriminate. I mean, you have to analyze someone as quickly as possible. Young person, they have a kid. How can I help? What policy out of the policy matrix for my favorite party will most appeal to them? Housing, education. We're going to get woke out of schools. We're going to make sure. Think about these things before you get there. When you see someone that, I don't know, that may want lower taxes. When you see someone that wants, I don't know, like you got to think out of the box, guys. This is what you need to do. And when I say you're going to be the most prejudiced person, sometimes that means thinking relatively racistly and being like, okay, on the balance of probability, this person probably thinks this, this, and this. They want more religious freedom. Maybe I should show them the policy. Hey, don't vote for Labor. Don't vote for Liberal. Vote for this guy because they have this sort of policy. Those are the tactics we can do. And how many people, is there still time? How many people have voted in the last 6 days since we've had early voting? We've only had maximum 30%, maximum. There's still 70% of voters out there.
Yeah, that's right.
We can go and get, and the best way to go and get them is to get your friends, send everyone you know in your contacts list the Turning Point Australia how to vote cards, especially if it's for your area. Screenshot it, send it to them. And the other thing you can do is go to your local polling booth today, tomorrow, because we've got 6 days left, guys, and make sure you're there on election day. That is the most difficult time for candidates. If you're in another state like New South Wales or South Australia, and you want to drive down on election day, I'll be there. I'll be looking out for our candidates and make sure you're handing out how to vote cards.
Great way to end it. I'm just about to run out of time. I only get an hour on lives. I just wanted to thank Joel. That was fantastic, man. I honestly mean that from the bottom of my heart. You've done a fantastic job. I just hope everyone shares it. So thanks for coming, everyone, and goodbye. And I'm going to save this, so share it around. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.